Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another quick draft of the Brothers War. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1 Pick 1, which is a super sweet pack here. Really all loaded up at the top end with our rare and some really good uncommons here. So we've got the Fauna Shaman, which is really fun in this format. If you top deck a small creature later, you can discard it to tutor out one of your giant prototype creatures like Boulder Branch Golem. So this is really good in the late game. In the early game, kind of just a 2-mana 2/2 for a while, but it can do the reverse. If you're stuck on mana, you can discard your 7-drop to find a cheap creature, so fun little tutor effect. I do enjoy that card, but probably not quite as good as just the really efficient beat stick of Giant Cindermaw, a 3-mana 4/3 trample, or the incredible flexible removal spell of Static Net. 4 mana to exile any non-land permanents, and we get to gain a couple life and get a Powerstone for mana ramp, so all three of these are incredible, but I'm going to go for the excellent removal spell of Static Net here. It's also an exile removal spell, which is very relevant in this format because there are graveyard mechanics like Unearth where you can pull things out of the grave later. For pick number 2, we've got another incredibly good pack. We have Third Path Iconoclast out of blue-red. This will be the hardest to cast because that restrictive mana cost, but potentially one of the highest value cards, giving you a 1/1 every time you cast a non-creature. Super good stuff there. We've got the really aggressive Monastery Swiftspear out of red. We've got the Chromatic Star for mana fixing that fits in any deck, or we've got some incredible options in white. The Prison Sentence for yet another removal spell, or the Scrapwork Cohort for a gigantic army in a can. 4 mana for a 3/1 and a 1/1, and you can unearth it, hit your opponent for 3 again, and get another 1/1. Really like Scrapwork Cohort here, and I think starting with an excellent removal spell, let's now scoop up an excellent army in a can creature, sticking to just white for now. For pick 3, we don't have a ton going on in white. The Phalanx Vanguard is a fine filler 2-drop if we don't find anything else, just to fill out the curve and get aggressive. We've got some solid stuff in other colors, some interaction with Machine Over Matter or Disfigure, some self-mill for an unearthed deck with Gnawing Vermin, and the little card draw engine of Take Flight. I do like the black-white color pair in the format. It tends to be pretty unearth focused. It's also about a bunch of mana value 3 or less cards, and it's pretty aggressive, so I kind of like taking the Disfigure here, pushing towards black-white, getting some really cheap interaction. For pack 1 pick 4, we are now off of black-white and moving towards blue-white soldiers, because that is another phenomenal archetype in the set that can use cards like Ambush Paratrooper as great cheap flyers that can buff the board later, get a wide board state with cards like Scrapwork Cohort, and can use the Lord like Yoshin Tactician to buff your entire board. So I'm going to take this Yoshin Tactician as a very solid sign to move to blue-white soldiers, and now I kind of wish that I kind of won the coin flip pick last pack and took the Machine Over Matter over the Disfigure for interaction. But couldn't see the future, didn't know we were getting a Tactician coming here. This was just as likely to have been a Hero of the Dunes, the incredible black-white uncommon, and then, you know, it could have been the other direction, and we picked the wrong card anyway, so. Take the Tactician here. Now we're trying to push into blue-white soldiers is a fantastic deck. For pick 5, I'm pretty happy to take Scrapwork Mutt here. Research Desk would be okay as well, because these are both really splashable since you don't need their main color of mana until you're unearthing them, so they give you impact immediately. I like the Scrapwork Mutt a little better because it gives us these solid filler 2-drop creatures that are a little harder to come by. So I'll take the Scrapwork Mutt, and we try to get some random energy refractors later to unearth these later in the game. But again, even just casting them straight up front is pretty decent. Pick number 6, nothing for blue-white soldiers. Honestly, nothing much for any deck. My favorite card's probably just Trench Stalker, because it's not that hard to draw an extra card in this format to get the Death Touch lifelink trigger. But, I mean, there's Argothian Sprite that's a fine mana sink. Thraxodemon's a fine mana sink. I'll take Unleashed Shell, but I don't think I'm playing anything out of that pack. Pick number 7. Not much here. We do have a Soldier with Survivor of Corliss, which is a pretty filler one, but it is okay. I could also take the Flyer of Reconstructed Sopter. Also pretty filler. Either way, it's going to be a filler creature to add to the deck. Yeah, I mean, I think Flyers play fine. 1/1s are still not that relevant, especially when you can spit multiple out with some bigger cards later, so we'll take the Thopter. Pick number 8, we've got an Elsewhere Flask, which is a fine filler mana fixing card because we can drop this out early, draw our card off of it. Later in the game, we crack it to get our red sources to unearth our scrapwork mutts or something like that. Pick number 9. Best cards by far are Gix's Caress and Boulder Branch Golem. So we got a great blue-white sign here, but we're not seeing a lot of the blue cards to say that blue is open. Maybe just that white's open, so awkward. I think since we already have a disfigure, we should maybe take Gix's Caress over Boulder Branch Golem, but I really enjoy Boulder Branch Golem, probably too much. Everything in my soul wants to take Boulder Branch Golem here, but we did just play a green deck, so I'll lean towards black as a backup card, going to like white-black instead of blue-white, or maybe even blue-black. We're really only one actual white card deep into the color. We'll take the Gix's Caress. Pick 10, Emergency Weld's a super solid black spell. Amulet's a fine filler unearth card, but Lauren's Escape's not a great trick. I'll take the Emergency Weld. I guess black is definitely the backup color here. To pick 11, Machine Over Matter. This was one of the only good blue cards we saw early, and it went all the way back around the draft pod, so maybe just not a lot of good blue is getting opened, and we can still have that chance of going blue-white soldiers. It's a risk for sure, and it would be safer to just take Vermin towards black-white on Earth, but I'm going to take that risk and grab Machine Over Matter, because it's a great spell when you can cast it for only 1 mana consistently. None of these cards are going to get played. None of these cards are going to get played. And that, well, no, Trench Stalker could definitely be played if we go blue-black. And then Soul Guide Lantern will get played if we play the Trench Stalker, because it's another way to just, like, draw a card and trigger that thing. So we'll see. Pack 2, pick number 1. So I think for Pack 2, pick number 1 here, we're supposed to take Lauren of the Third Path, because this is a fantastic white spell for any white deck whatsoever. Even if we're blue-white soldiers, this could arguably be stronger than Yotian Tactician, like even if we end up in that deck, because pretty much everybody's playing artifacts, so this is always a 2-for-1. Get your 2-1 Vigilance, get your removal spell on a stick, so it's a really good card. Plus, since we got this pick 4, there's a solid chance we might be able to wheel this Yotian Tactician, and if we don't wheel that, we wheel the Adaptive Automaton as a Soldier Lord. So we're almost definitely supposed to take the Lauren, because this also fits into black-white if we get pushed off of the blue. But again, I'm real tempted to just take a second Tactician and never look back. But I will take the Lauren here. She's still going to be great, even if we are blue-white. I am going to have an aneurysm if that Tactician doesn't wheel, though, with how pack 1 looked with what was getting passed. We'll see, though. Sometimes the quick drafts just make me very mad at the bots. I'm like, what are you actually drafting? Alright, pack 2. Pick number 2, we get a Warlord's Elite for a nice beefy soldier at the top of the curve. It can also get cast for really cheap if you have some extra permanents sitting on the board early. Like, if you curve out, play something on the board turn 1, something on the board turn 2, you can play this turn 3 if you tap your permanents towards it, so it's a pretty quick, aggressive creature. I like the Warlord's Elite. Military Discipline is the better combat trick at common for white, but I'll take the Warlord over the combat trick. Okay, I guess we're moving towards black-white on Earth instead. Black-white mana value 3 or less, because Hero of the Dunes is pretty much just as good as Yotian Tactician. It buffs basically your entire board, and it's a reanimator effect on a stick. Super great card. Super, super excellent stuff. And it synergizes super well with Lauren and Warlord's Elite and stuff, so now we don't even have to be that sad if we get pushed into black-white, because we've got a great Signpost uncommon for that deck as well. And maybe we fit in a little bit of fixing and go all 3 of these colors, take Evangel and just have all the Signpost uncommons for blue, white, and black? Sure, blue-black is about drawing a second card each turn, as often as you can. Pick 5, we have some cards that are good in a grindy long game, but that's kind of the only position they're good in, and those are really the only options, the Skullflayer and the Disciples, for the most part. So they're kind of narrow spells, but again, good in those grindy long games, potentially, so let's grab... I don't have a lot of Unearth here, I've got 3, so I'm not that excited about Disciples. Actually might like the Warplow, come to think of it. 2 mana, 1/1 Death Toucher when we need it. And then just a decent top-end card when we do as well. Yeah, take War Plow. It's going to be filler no matter what we take. It's also the most colorless of these cards. So the easiest mana cost. Pick 6 is a super easy Scrapwork cohort. This card is incredible in general, but also just really good in blue-white soldiers and really good in black-white Unearth, black-white mana value 3 or less, because the Hero of the Dunes buffs the tokens as well. Those are also creatures with mana value 3 or less. Super easy cohort. Pick number 7 is nothing much. We'll take the mediocre blue removal thing or the mediocre black creature. Take the blue removal thing. Pick number 8. Thraxidemon is a solid way to use extra soldier tokens we might have sitting around, but Corrupt is very fun with Elsewhere Flask, where you can turn all of your lands into swamps, and then Corrupt deals damage equal to the number of lands you control to any target. Just corrupt your opponent in the face. It's pretty cute. It's also pretty narrow. If you only have one copy of Flask, it's just not going to come together that often, so it's way safer to just take Thraxidemon. We did get the Tactician to come back. Pick 9, so I guess we're splashing around. Some combination of all this. Maybe black-white splash the blue. Because out of blue, we really just have Tacticians. Desynchronize isn't great. Evangel's not going to be great to splash. Machine Over Matter's not great to splash. So black-white, try to get some more cards other than the Elsewhere Flask to splash in blue so that we can get the Tacticians down to go with our Scrapwork cohorts. So taking some soldiers out of black and white could be decent, just like a Killzone Acrobat, because it's an on-color soldier to the main 2 colors of the deck between black and white. Although there's a good blue soldier, so I don't know. We've got enough artifacts, we can probably decide our main 2 colors once we get to deck building even. Just keep drafting the best card out of all 3 of these colors throughout the draft. Could be fine. I don't know, we'll see what we get throughout pack 3. And we start things off with a pretty perfect rare for this deck. Obviously taking Warlord's Elite would be pretty decent, but Fortified Beachhead is going to help us splash around whatever way we're doing this. Help us splash in the blue if we're going to be black-white, or help us just fix the mana in general if we are blue-white at the core. And then it's just going to buff all the soldiers if we flood out a little bit. Yeah, that actually seems real good for the deck. I'm going to take that over mainly Warlord's Elite, because we're not going to have enough planes, I think, for laydown arms to be consistent removal at all. Pack 3, pick number 2. We got a pick 9 Yoshin Tactician. Can we get a pick 10 Yoshin Tactician? I don't think I want to risk it, because the second best card in this pack is a decent bit weaker than Tactician. It's probably Gix's Caress. I think we just guarantee that we get a third Tactician. Pack 3, pick 3. Let's actually look at our colors here, look if we're close enough to just being blue-white and going for the Air Marshal here. And then we can also look how much removal we have. Maybe we need Powerstone Fracture. Look how many 2-drops we need. Maybe we need Scrapwork Mutt. Look how much fixing we need. Maybe we need Evolving Wilds. Those are the big potential picks here. So let's see what the mana curve and the deck in general look like. We're going to be... White has basically got to be a core color because it's got Static Net, Triple Tactician, Here Are the Dunes, and Lauren. All that is white. So it really does look like white-black. That's a lot of black spells here. So I move all the blue over here. We're splashing in Triple Tactician mainly. Emergency Weld is not a 2-drop, so we've got 2 2-drops. 3 3-drops. 5 4-drop creatures. I guess Warlord's Elite's also potentially a 3 or 4-drop, depending on what permanents we have for it. Yeah, Warplow's another 2-drop, so it's 3 2-drops. 4 3-drops. 5 4-drops. 2 5-drops. Interaction, we have Disfigure. We have Gix's Caress to rip their best card out of their hand, and we have Static Net. That's not terrible. I don't think I need to take Fracture this early. We have to take it pick 3. And I don't think I want to take Air Marshal and try to be blue-white at the core. I think we just are black-white at the core. So I think I'd take Scrapwork Mutt or Evolving Wilds here. I'm going to take the Scrapwork Mutt. I really want to make sure I've got a good chunk of 2-drops, at least like 5 of them here. Pack 3, pick 4. This is awkward because your 2-drops really need to be in your main 2 colors for you to consistently cast them on turn 2, and that is the entire point of a 2-drop, is that you are casting it turn 2. So while Thopter Mechanic is the best card in the pack and it's a 2-drop, it's not going to fit in here particularly well. Unless we swap over to blue, white, splash black. It's so much better than everything else here, though, that I'm going to speculate on it over, like, Deadly Riposte as filler removal. Or mass production. I guess with 3 copies of Yotian Tactician and 1 copy of Hero of the Dunes, mass production might be worth it. Like, by itself, it's not a great stat line for that much mana. But when you have 4 cards that buff all of the soldier tokens, maybe it's actually decent? Yeah, you know what? If nothing else, that's very funny and very cute. Kind of unique to this deck with the 4 ways to buff all of them. I'll go for that here. Pack 3, pick number 5. I actually really like Emergency Weld in this deck that has Hero and Triple Tactician, so I'm tempted to take another one, but there is also another mass production to get cutesy. About this deck. I'm going to take another Emergency Weld. It's also incredible with Lauren. Trade off the Lauren, blow up another card. Yeah, we'll take that. Maybe we can wheel the mass production. Probably not. That'd be pick 13. Yeah, we're not going to wheel that. Pick 6, Mightstone's Animation or Disenchant that we're probably not playing. I could take the Spectrum Sentinel literally just because it's a soldier. Just play a 1-mana 1/2. Most filler card ever. Just because it has a good creature type. I guess Disenchant is more interaction, but I already have Lauren for blowing up artifacts. If we're counting that as interaction, then that means 1, 2, 3 removal spells in a Gix's Caress. Still. Maybe Splash in Mightstone's Animation. I don't love any of these options. I'll go for the Disenchant, I guess. Alright, I do love this option. Ambush Paratrooper gives me another 2-drop that I really need, and it's the correct creature type, and it's instant speed, which is fantastic, and it's flying, which is great. Ambush Paratrooper is super, super good. Pick number 8. Aeronaut's Wings is a fine filler card to make any of our creatures relevant in the late game. I don't know if it'll make the cut, but again, I'm just going to splash the blue. I'm not going to Mightstone's Animation it up. Pick 9, basically nothing for us. I'll just rare draft an uncommon for Vault Progress. And that looks like it's going to be the case for basically the rest of this draft. Okay, we'll speculate a little on that one. Don't think we're there, though, for blue. Alright, weird draft. Really weird draft. Like, we get every signpost uncommon in this color trio, but we just don't find the core cards for this kind of deck. Like, not a lot of the really good common soldiers for blue and white, but just a million Yotian Tacticians. We got one pick 9, another one pick 4. So I want to see what on earth the bots were drafting. There must have just been a bunch of blue drafters, a bunch of white drafters, but no blue-white drafters. Alright, so we just cut a bunch of blue. We just use Beachhead, Elsewhere Flask for the splash. Four cuts to go. Creature count is at 16 plus a mass production for 17 plus double emergency weld. It's kind of like another creature. It's like a Gravedigger effect. So pretty high creature count here. We can cut a couple. The most mediocre is probably Killzone Acrobat, but it ups our mana value 3 or less creatures, and it ups our soldier count, which is great with all 4 of our signpost uncommons. I don't know if I am cutting any creatures, if I can ignore it. We can just cut like a Soul Guide Lantern, and a Disenchant, and an Aeronaut's Wings. I guess I still need to cut one more card after that. I think this deck can close out games without Aeronaut's Wings, unlike our last deck. So I will rip that out of here, and then we cut one more card. kind of have a lot of top end. If I think I can cut Trench Stalker, because I've got like 2 ways to trigger it. I've got Moment of Defiance, Elsewhere Flask. I guess 4. We've got 2 Scrapwork Mud as well. And a Thraxodemon. Thraxodemon does it pretty slow. That's pretty decent. That's 5 ways. I don't know. My thought here is that I've got a lot of 4 drops, and I've got a Hero Dunes, and then we're emergency welding back 4 and 5 drops for more top end, and we've got a mass production for top end. And this is not super consistent with 4 or 5 cards that draw a card in the deck. We can't really unearth Scrapwork Muds because we didn't find any energy refractors in this draft pod. So those are only triggering the Stalker 1 time instead of 2. And I think we do want to try to keep the curve as aggressive as possible and keep all the 2 and 3 drops in here. Although I guess a 2-mana 1/1 Death Touch is not that aggressive. That's just pretty defensive. So maybe we could cut the Warplow over the Stalker. Something like this that's mainly like beef for the top end and nothing else. I guess I'll cut the Stalker over the Warplow since it is flexible on the curve. But yeah, I think we're leaving the cheap stuff. Warlord's Lead also counts as like more top end. Yeah, interesting one here. I think we are going to call it a deck here. All right, here's a look at the final deck list for today, and it's some weird amalgamation of blue-white soldiers and black-white mana value 3 or less. So we don't have a ton of creatures that mana value 3 or less, but we've got enough, plus the Hero of the Dunes does work with creature tokens as well, buffing them up. So this is still going to be a very powerful play. And with 3 Ocean Tacticians, these are going to be beefing up any soldiers that we have, which are mostly soldier tokens from Scrapwork cohorts, but also Warlord's Elite, Killzone Acrobat, Ambush Paratrooper, stuff like that. So it was kind of an awkward draft for us where we got these incredible multicolored cards like the Tacticians and the Hero of the Dunes pretty late. But as for just the monocolored, just powerful soldiers on curve, didn't really get enough to go for just a blue-white soldiers deck. Didn't really get enough great black-white stuff to go just for a pure black-white deck. So we're this in-between without a lot of great fixing. We only have 1 Beachhead and 1 Elsewhere Flask. Didn't get any energy refractors. So kind of an inconsistent deck here. We're going to have really explosive, really powerful curves that involve our incredible Signpost uncommons or some of our premium commons like Scrapwork cohorts and Ambush Paratroopers and stuff. But we're also going to have some games where we could draw really awkward hands of just like Thraxodemon into Killzone Acrobat is the curve, and then we just don't find our blue sources with a Tactician stuck in our hand. Maybe we top things off with just a Warplow. High variance deck here, where there's going to be a big difference between the best hands we can get and the worst hands, but we'll cross our fingers a little bit. We've got plenty of powerful spells in this deck, and hopefully we can draw them at the right times and have some pretty good games, but we'll see how it all ends up as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. Not a horrible hand. I don't have a lot of action early, but I have a Disfigure to make sure we're not just dying to a good, well-timed 1 or 2 drop. And the Warlord's Elite is going to be cast on turn 4 instead of turn 5 because we've got the Flask to tap towards it, so we'll see. We'll see how it works out for us. I am just going to immediately Disfigure their little Goblin thing, because that's a pretty threatening card out of the Rakdos decks. Plenty of permanents for them to sack to it to make it a 3/2 menace pretty consistently. A Cliff Stomper is a really threatening card out of a mono-colored deck. That could be a massive issue if they're just mono-red here. That's going to attack on turn 4 as a 4/4 for only 2 mana. There's a Bitter Reunion, which is their first permanent they can sack towards stuff like the Goblin. They've got the Sibling Rivalry as well. This could be a terrifying matchup. Luckily, our Disfigure did soak up a lot of the early damage we would have been taking here. Now, I do draw into Warplow, which is interesting to me. So this is attacking as a 4/4 next turn. If they play another mountain, I can trade an Elite to it, trade a Death Toucher into it, or I can just play a Tactician for now. I'm going to play the Elite here, because threatening to trade an Elite into it might get it to stop, might stop it from attacking. And this makes it so if I play Tactician next turn and they don't have interaction, we'll actually have a 5/5 blocker for the Cliff Stomper. Which, if they keep playing a land every turn, I guess won't matter, because then the Cliff Stomper is going to be a 5/5. Okay. Yeah, come to think of it, even if I play Tactician, this is a 5/5 versus a 5/4 if they play another mountain next turn, so I'm just gonna block here. If they have combat tricks, it's going to be a nightmare for us at any time. There is no point in the entire game we're going to be able to break through a Whirling Strike on a Cliff Stomper. That's always going to beat our biggest creature. So the sooner we get that out of the way, the better. Oh, wow. All right. Dream Draft Pod for Mono Red. Double Cliff Stomper. We're now even more likely just dying to Cliff Stompers. I can trade a Warplow into one of them, whether I play it as a 1/1 or a 5/4, so we'll play it as a 1/1 because I don't have the mana to play it as a 5/4 now, and if I just play a Tactician, I'm not blocking at all this turn. Pretty sure we're just getting rolled by Mono Red here. Yeah, because now they sack the Reunion to give the Blast Runner haste. And make it a menace threat as well. Yeah, this is insane. This is a really, really good build for the Mono Red deck. No attacks with the Cliff Stompers. Alright, I'll take it. Tiny bit of breathing room. Just down to 13 for now. Now I just start playing Tacticians and crying myself to sleep for the next few turns. Oh yeah, that is filthy. I think if they attacked all last turn, we'd be dead right now. But we still go to 3, so we're still basically dead. Yeah. Well, I have to jump a Cliff Stomper. Because they sacked the research desk? Yeah, no, they sacked the research desk, so we're dead. I have to double block Blast Runner and die to that, or block there and take 3 from Blast Runner and die to it. Yep. Alright, well, just got demolished by the Dream Mono Red build there. Not much you can do about that, just very, very strong deck. We are 0-1 heading into game 2. Here we are now on the play for game number 2 with a mono-colored hand in our 3-color deck, which is certainly pretty awkward. I do have Killzone Acrobat into Moment of Defiance. Whenever I find a white source, we've got one of the best cards in the deck. Could blow up in my face, but I'm going to go for the keep here. Don't need another color mana till like turn 5, because we play this turn 3, this turn 4. And Fortified Beachhead is probably the best draw in the deck there. Another red aggro deck, starting with Goblin Blast Runner. Is it mono red aggro again? Are the bots just never taking Sardian Cliff Stomper? Okay, don't really need to block a 1/2 here. I'm really concerned. I'm gonna see exactly what's going on in their hand. Okay, it's Rakdos aggro. Oh my god. Oh boy, so they have the Junkyard Genius. Oh, and they're splashing white with a little 1-drop? Okay, that part confuses me. The Survivor confuses me, but Junkyard Genius is one of the best signpost uncommons in the format. Mishra is really scary rare, giving all their artifacts engraved Unearth. I think I just have to get rid of Junkyard Genius. This ability is just really strong, even if they don't have a black source yet. Currently, nothing in their hand is castable unless they draw land anyway, so we just rip out the strongest card. They top deck a Blast Runner, which they can cast. Alright. Lorne does not look super great in this matchup. We see no artifacts yet. Just play the Acrobat. Plains is the draw, so they can cast the Survivor or the Strongbull, and they're going to go for the Strongbull. We find Reconstructed Thopter. I'm just going to pass the turn here. If we can find a good block to use Moment of Defiance. I'll kill one of their creatures, gain 1,000,000 life here. Be pretty happy with that. Although now they have mana for the Mishra's Onslaught for +2/+0. Survivor of Corliss. If they don't make any attacks, we still get to play Paratrooper, which is what makes holding a Moment of Defiance up not that bad, in my opinion. It's really just the fact that I have a backup plan that makes it good. I can cast this Thopter and still have Moment of Defiance up. Now I can start poking them in the sky. I can't really break through on the ground, and I don't want to start sacking permanents just to send in for 3 with the Sacrobat, so just poke with the Paratrooper. Bunch of white sources, so maybe they're splashing the black? And they just hit like all of their splashes in their opening hand. Alright, they're going to go for the +2/+0 to everybody for the turn. So even with +2/+0, we trade into Strongbow. And I think this is just good for me whether or not I cast a Moment of Defiance. They are going to +2/+0. Now, I can't Moment of Defiance to save anybody, but I could gain some life and draw a card. I don't think it's worth it. Let's just take our trades. Alright. Well, we're pretty chill. Just weld back the Acrobat, since the Thopter can Unearth anyway. Probably Unearth for a little bit of damage, since I have nothing else to hold up for 2 mana. 12-16, but we've got the better board state, and we can actually cast our spells in hand. It's an Ashnod's Harvester. We found something to kill with Lauren, so now Lauren's coming down, and she's going to be great. Yeah, no attacks on the ground. I guess if I kill the Ashnod's Harvester, we can Moment of Defiance the Acrobat to 3 toughness, and it beats their board if they block. Alright, this should be pretty nasty. Oops, forgot to play my land for turn. Probably doesn't matter. I doubt I'm going to hit anything that expensive next turn, but we'll see. Alright, they're just going to concede. They scry 2, probably don't even see the swamps there. And then they're just fed up with it. So, rough mana issues for our opponent there. Kind of make that one a pretty simple game, but we'll take it. It's going to be 1-1 heading into game number 3. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 3. Pretty slow hand. We're not doing anything till turn 4, but I like the cards that we have. Cohort into Double Tactician is a lot of beef. Another red deck. All red all day today. Alright, draw a card from the Elsewhere Flask and pass the turn. Still looking for anything for 3 mana or less that affects the board. Got, I think, 5 2-mana creatures and 4 or 5 3-mana creatures we could draw into. It's like 8 cards, maybe. Come on, top deck. Land it is. Alright, nothing till turn 4 then. Rough draws this game. Exclusively lands so far, I think. There's an energy refractor from our opponent, so they've got their mana of any color for that Mask of the Jade Crafter and any other Unearth splashes. It's pretty great. And they've got full Grixis mana set up. Fashionably late Scrapwork Mutt. Shows up after we would want to cast any 2-drops, but I guess I can play that on turn 6 alongside my second Yotian Tactician. Conscripted Infantry. So when that dies, they get a 1/1. Ooh, another Scrapwork Cohort? Double Cohort with Double Tactician? That is really something else. even with 2 tacticians on board, the cohort's going to trade into infantry. It won't trade into mutt, but I think we're still just like offering trades here. Because it's going to take a while before these are too big to trade off into mutt, and it'll take forever before they're too big to trade into infantry. I need both tacticians down and the mana up to use beachhead at that point. Another energy refractor. We like to see that. It's not a blocker of any kind, so we can maybe get some damage in here. Oh yeah. So now they trade into cohort for sure. We deal 4, and then we can unearth. Especially if I hit a land, actually. We actually might want to hit a land badly enough to discard Warplow to the mutt. Because if I have 7 mana up next turn, I unearth a cohort and play a tactician, and that's a lot of damage. So I'm going to discard the Warplow to try to hit land 7, and we did. So next turn is going to be wild stuff. Yeah, even if they tap out to kill 1 tactician, this is still going to make it so all the soldiers are too big to trade into their soldiers. They just trade into a scrapwork mutt here. Oh, and there's an emergency weld? If they don't exile specifically this tactician. Beautiful turn, thanks to that 7th mana. Send in the squad, trade the mutt into the 1/1. No, they're going to chump block the 4 damage. Try to buy a little bit of extra time, which is fair enough. I didn't realize how low they were going to get from this attack. They're down to 9, even blocking our biggest creature. So they would have been down to 7 if they did trade into the mutt. And they're just going to scoop them up. That is 2 and 1. Pretty slow start, but just rolling out multiple tacticians with multiple cohorts is super, super nasty. So that is what we were talking about with the variance of the deck of, like, sometimes we just draw the good cards together and they do some explosive things. We are 2 and 1 heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. On the play, I really need to draw lands. If I do, the hand's going to be phenomenal, though. Tactician and hero and cohort. Full greed. Just insta-draw swamp. Uh-oh. Draw the only 6-drop in my deck. The literal worst card to draw. The 1 out of 33. And then we make up for it by drawing the best card we can draw, which is a swamp, so I can Gix's Caress, and I know I'm playing a cohort next turn, even if I miss my draw there. Ooh, so a Trench Stalker deck here. It's all about the draw 2 with cards like Combat Courier and Scrapwork Rager to get the Death Touch lifelink going consistently. Probably rip out the Gurgling Anointer because that's their play next turn. It's going to be a while till they have the mana for all these Trench Stalkers. And even if I rip 1 out, even 1 Trench Stalker is going to be a problem. Yeah, this is an issue. I don't know that I love this matchup. But I think we get rid of the Anointer, and now they probably play and sacrifice a Courier, looking for the 4th land, just trying to get up to 5 mana quickly. Or they top deck Emergency Weld so that they can just replay Anointer next turn anyway. And be mana efficient. Alright. Solid top deck is solid, but we're drawing quite luckily as well. So, you know, we're one to talk there. Think I still have to play cohort first before the tactician. If I top deck another land, though, I could play Thraxodemon plus cohort next turn, but I can't do the same with tactician. I think it's still got to just be cohort. It looks like they missed the land, but that means it's all action over there. We did top deck the land, so the other way around would have been pretty solid here. But now we just play tactician and send in with cohort. Yeah, it trades into 2 of their cards. The 2/2 just trades into 1/1/1, so I don't think I send that in. I guess Cohort could also just trade with the Death Toucher, but that's trading with a Death Toucher, so that's good too. Alright, get the Death Toucher out of here. There's the 4th mana for our opponent, so they play the Rager, they trigger the Anointer, they get closer to the 5th mana for the Trench Stalkers. If these Trench Stalkers... Basically, if they make it to 5 mana for these Trench Stalkers, I don't think we're outracing them, because they have such consistent card draw thanks to all the Unearth. And our opponent's playing really defensively to make sure they make it to 5 mana. Not looking good for our heroes today. I ditched the Thraxodemon, so I have something to reanimate to the hero. Alright, that's a pretty good turn, but I can't really attack it on this board. This trades into Unearth, and this just gets bounced. And here comes Trench Stalkers. No, another Gurgling Anointer. Trigger both off the Courier. Yep. Yep, that's pretty good. So, like, maybe, just maybe, they can't kill Tactician and Hero of the Dunes, and I just get a wide enough board state that we kill them with all these 3/2 tokens. Try to get mass production to go to town. If I top deck my Moment of Defiance, this is going to be an incredible attack all next turn. We have the combat trick to save the Tactician or Hero, so that we can save them, or send them in alongside the rest of the field. Just go for 2 attacks in a row to get the kill, hopefully. No, here comes the removal. Maybe. Maybe. They're just assessing the board state. The amount of highlighting of our cards going on means I think they're killing one of these. There will be significantly smaller attacks next turn. Okay, so Unearth the Courier. Sack it to trigger both the Anointers. They still have 2 mana up for the sack a creature, kill something spell. Yeah. Powerstone Fracture, there it is. That is unfortunate. I mean, I could still deal 10 damage to them on board. Oh my god, that is literally exactly what I wanted to draw into. Although it's not going to make Tactician not die if they double block it. But they can't super afford to double block it, so here we go. Whatever. Woo! I have a dream. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to my opponent. And I can make sure Tactician doesn't die. I won't kill the Anointer, but I will save the Tactician. Or I can kill this Anointer, but I still lose the Thraxodemon. I think I need to save Tactician to keep these as big as possible. Oh my god, and we draw Disfigure? This doesn't even trigger when it dies, right? When it dies, return another creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power from your grave to the battlefield. I could also just disfigure this to keep the board as wide as possible. I think I'm killing the big Anointer with this top deck Disfigure. Wait, it might actually trigger... No, it doesn't, because they died at the same time. Okay, I was gonna say, maybe it triggers and picks up the Scrapwork Rager? It does not. Alright, so they're down to 5 against all this? Oh my god, okay! I didn't think we were gonna do that fast enough, but a mass production? The meme card we threw in, because it's like, well, we've got 4 cards to buff all these soldiers, was the MVP of the game. We needed that incredibly wide board state to get around everything, and then we drew like an absolute champion. We top decked our best draw on the deck, followed by the best card to draw alongside it, because we had exactly enough mana to play both. That was incredibly lucky stuff. And we are now 3-1, I believe. Heading into game number 5. Here we are for game 5, some more slow hands. Not been drawing our 2-drops too often, but it's a strong hand otherwise. Obviously the lack of a black source being an issue. We actually drew all 3 of our blue sources. We have 3 blue sources in the whole deck. We've got all of them in the hand. So that's pretty funny. Uh-oh. Drawing some more black spells. Luckily they're like 5 mana spells, so it doesn't matter yet. Wouldn't be able to cast them anyway. Alright, well there's a 6-drop. We've got our 4, 5, and 6 at the ready. Autonomous Assembler. Well, that's going to get static netted before it does a million damage to me. And that'll give me the Powerstone I need to play this Warplow. So we can just drop a Warplow next turn if I don't hit a black source. We don't hit a black source, so Warplow it is. Alright, our Gothian Sprite is definitely the disfigure target when we find the black source. We just gotta hope we can do that before they start putting counters on that. At this rate, it's not looking that likely that we do. But we'll see how it works out for us. Yeah, let's drop the Tactician. We're all on blocks here. Yikes. Pass from here, they... Yeah, they start mana sinking the Sprite. God dang it. The fact that that shuts off our disfigure now is so annoying. Obstinate Baloth for a 4/4. Paratrooper makes our Warplow 5 toughness on blocks, or it makes our Tactician a 4/5 on blocks. So that's going to be fine to deal with. And of course, literally 1 turn late. It's so fashionably late that we're now having issues with this Arcothian Sprite that we just really wouldn't have had otherwise. Got a bunch of instants here. I could caress them. This is probably my last opportunity to actually make them discard something to this caress, so... yeah, I guess I'll do that. Overwhelming Remorse and Spotter Thopter. Oh, dear. I could draw into Lauren to kill the Spotter Thopter, and they're not going to play it till they have 8 mana. They currently have 5, 6, 7. Dang, they only need to hit 1 land to play that Thopter. That's pretty terrifying. I can Trumpet and then reanimate the hero, and then Trumpet and then pick up the Paratrooper, and... I really don't want to let them have this Overwhelming Remorse. Maybe I'll die for this, but I'm going to get rid of Overwhelming Remorse. And I can't attack into the Recluse here. Plus, I need to try to hold up solid defenses. Send in the Baloth. Warplow 1-for-1 trade here. Don't think it's worth it. Another black source is spectacular. Because now I can cast something and hold up Disfigure. So we cast the Acrobat, we still have Disfigure up. Am I going to Disfigure the Recluse when they try to block Paratrooper with it? Maybe. Maybe that's a line. And they Thraxidemon it. But now we kill the Recluse, they have no flying blockers anymore until they get Spotterthopter down. And we just need to find our way to deal with Spotterthopter. Again, I've got plenty of chumps for Spotterthopter set up here. On the defensive, it's just breaking through on the offensive that'll be an issue. Ah, taste of our own medicine there. And Disruption. Always just feels solid when you cast it, but feels very frustrating when it's cast against you. Like, I think Hand Disruption over any other card type, at least for me, just feels like just ambivalence when you cast it. It was just like, eh. This was fine, this was solid for us. But then just really annoying when it's cast against you. Well, that draws bad. Now they've got the Powerstone to cast the Gigantic Flyer next turn. I guess it's our last turn to send in. With the Flyers for damage? Full control and tap this before this triggers. It's probably too late. Of course. Gotta love the perks of playing Digital Magic. Yeah, I should have been able to double buff this turn. That's so annoying. So we missed out on 2 points of damage. Probably doesn't matter, but maybe it will. So Remorse over the Thopter this turn. Can't really take 8. Trade into the Baloth. Go to 9. And hit another land. Well. Shoot. I can double pump again. But then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I super die on the crackback. Sack a creature artifact for flying. I guess I can poke for 3 instead of 1 and still play Hero of the Dunes. But I guess I missed out on 1 point of damage again. Could have hit for 4 here, because I could have used Paratrooper and cast Hero of the Dunes in the same turn. But I guess this way I can use it on blocks, which might be relevant. Okay, so if we hit as aggressively as possible, they could have taken 3 more damage this game. They'd be at 10 life right now. Oh, are they still not... Like, we looked at their hand earlier, and we're like, well, they're one land away from Spotterthopter. And then they've just drawn straight gas instead of lands for like 4 turns in a row now. Like, I was sitting here concerned about them just being able to drop the big flyer, but... They have not played a land in like the last 3 turns, so... Instead... They're just running some stuff into us here. Even if I buff the whole board, I can't block that without losing a creature, so we take it. Yeah, now they just play the Thopter on blocks, and GG. Even if they were at 10, I could only poke them for 4 damage right now. Because they block the Acrobat, the Paratrooper gets in for 4. And since they're at 13, I really can't get there. They found a land. And here's a Ravenous Gigable, which picks up another Argothian Sprite. Another good mana sink threat. And they have a Powerstone Fracture still. And we're just dead on board, right? If they attack all, yeah. That was closer than I thought it would be with the amount of damage that we could have output if I played perfectly, where we could have put them down to 10 and then hit them for 4 that turn. So we could have put them down to 6 with the draws that we had, which was like land, 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 versus their draws of spell, 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 spell. So maybe if I did play it out perfectly, things would have mattered if we had drawn pretty equally well or drawn better than our opponent. So, yeah, some loose plays there means it was probably irrelevant regardless how I drew in the end of that game. I think even if I drew well, I probably punted it away, losing out on some points of damage throughout there, but yeah. Play poorly and draw poorly means we never would have won anyway. So at least there's that. We are 3-2 heading into game 6. All right, here we are on the play for game number 6. Probably the best opening hand I think we've had so far. We've got a 2-drop and a 3-drop. We've got a good little curve going. We have not had that often at all. Do I have any double white or double blue spells? No, and I have less blue than white, so we just ditch the island. Find a reconstructed Thopter, but I think I'm just playing Killzone Acrobat. We are against black-red, which can be a pretty aggressive sacrifice deck. I've got the Moment to Defiance if they play a blocker here, if that trick lines up well for us. Foundry Inspector is not going to line up well into that, but luckily my creatures just trade, so they're still fine attacks. Could also just drop the Lauren, I guess, but I think I'm playing Reconstructed Thopter here. Saving this for a bigger artifact. That's probably more of a gamble than I need it to be. Yeah, I should have just cast Lauren. Because there's always a chance they just don't have more artifacts. So. I mean, obviously, like, I'm going to feel stupid if they play a big artifact turn 5 and I had played Lauren, but I'm also going to feel stupid if they don't play any more artifacts now. So, like, there's a potentially bad outcome either way. Right now, it looks like they're not going to play any more artifacts, so. Uncool. Keep poking them in the sky here. Keep that damage rolling. take this. They play a Juggernaut. Well, there we go. Alright. Now it all looks reasonable. It's perfectly fine. We'll just lure in the Juggernaut. Yeah, that was a weird attack. I feel like they have some kind of trick. They might have the +2/+0 first strike trample is what's going on. Because that's the main reason I wasn't blocking. Because Scrapwork Mutt for Thraxodemon's a perfectly fine trade. I just don't think they'd ever make that attack without a trick. And I'm at 22, so like, I can take 2 a turn for a good while. Overwhelming Remorse. I don't think I've seen a single copy of Overwhelming Remorse in the last 2 drafts I've done. There probably have been in like somewhere between pick 1 and pick 3, but they're just gone by the time we can spend picks on them. But I've seen so many from like every opponent that's on black. What are we doing here? Maybe setting up for a mass production, just playing Tactician? I guess that's a way to try to break through for the last points of damage. Get 4 2/2s on the board. Scrapwork Rager. Alright, they're down to 9. Let's go. They've also got 5 blockers, though. I don't think you should ever mill your opponent in this format, because Unearth is very solid. So I am surprised to see the Vermin go in our direction, because they also have Unearth of their own. They've got Scrapwork Rager, they've got Juggernaut. Ooh, I'm pretty happy with that, because now I can just emergency weld this and replay it next turn if I don't hit land 6. Because if I didn't hit land 6, I wasn't going to have anything to do this turn. And I didn't hit land 6, so here we go. Emergency weld. Lauren? I guess our opponent is low enough on life. I do really need to strongly consider emergency welding a flyer. Actually, yeah, I think I need to emergency weld the flyer. Because I can kill them in 2 hits with that because I have a second Tactician in hand. I hit them for 4, then I hit them for 5, or I hit them for 5, then I hit them for 5. Unless they found more removal. Well, I found a Dragon Engine, which blocks as a 2/3 flyer, so right now it just chump blocks, but it will threaten to trade the second time. Alright, I hit the mass production mana, so we'll do this and we'll sack a 1/1 to send the Acrobat in. Now they take 4 or they chump block with Dragon Engine. Actually sacking Scrapwork Mutt instead of a soldier because the soldiers are potentially 3/3s next turn, but the Mutt's still going to be a 2/1 next turn no matter what. Like, we can't unearth the Mutt since I've already used my Elsewhere Flask. But we could have beefier soldiers. Alright, they're going to go for chump plus draw a card. So if they end up with 5 blockers... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Let's see, we'll block this, block that. Block 3 of those. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They go to 1 life if they have 5 blockers up and they're tapped out. Ooh. Now I feel like the odds of killing them are very high. There goes 2 blockers. Send in a Skull Flare, insta-no blocks. I am going to lethal you on the crackback, my friend. Okay, show me the money, I guess. Show me how you survive this. If you can survive this, then congratulations. All right. They cannot survive that, and we are now 4-2, heading into game number 7 with a positive record, no matter what. Here we are for game 7 with another great hand here. We've got an actual 2-drop. We don't have a 3-drop. This costs 4 mana when we only have one other non-land permanent out. But we've got really strong cards, and we actually start turn 2, which is fantastic. Ooh. I can play Mutt and Paratrooper. I guess I'd rather Paratrooper than Mutt first, because it might kill their Stalwart for free, which would be hilarious. Worst case scenario, it gets eaten by a giant growth, and then I can reanimate it off Hero of the Dunes. Alright, well, not eating a Stalwart for free, they're just casting another one. Sadness. That's also really scary. Because that means, like, mana-wise, they've got a lot coming really quickly. I'm discarding the Warlord's Elite because we really need to hit lands for this 4-drop and this 5-drop, and the Hero of the Dunes can reanimate the Warlord's Elite. So I think the synergy there is pretty solid to dig for the mana. Alright, so they get to put this sigil onto the Yoshin medic and just start attacking with like a 4-power lifelinker really soon. That's pretty gross. Okay, we do find the 4th land. I could static net a sigil. But I can also just static net the medic because it annoys me. Maybe wrong, but static net is the only reasonable play this turn. So it's either hold the static net so we have removal for something else and cast absolutely nothing this turn, or play the static net on probably Ocean Medic. No! More life gain, Obstinate Bailoff it is. Mana. Alright, there we go. Hero of the Dunes. Poking for 2 damage a turn in the sky. Bailoff attacks is a 6/6 now. Probably have to trade Warplow into that. I mean, if Bailoff attacks, their blocks are very bad. And I think we're still just trying to race. Actually, if they do that. Yeah, so I just take it and then crack back for a lot. Down to 9. I mean, I do take a lot, too. No. Alright. Definitely getting punished by the mana base on that one. At 9 life, they can crack back for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if they attack with everybody, or if they attack with Bailoff alone, they crack back for 7. I am gonna attack with everybody. They can't lethal us on the counterattack. Especially if they lose some creatures here. Alright. Lose 1 creature's cool with me, and then we hardcast the most expensive version of Warplow since there's nothing else to do the mana, or to use the mana on. If I had 1 more mana, then I'd buff the board and play the 1/1 Warplow, but I don't have 7 mana, I have 6, so it doesn't line up right to do that. If I buff the board, I get to cast nothing. Alright, they're down to 10, we're down to 9, it's gonna be real close. They can Thopter us in the face for a good chunk, but then they have no other flyers. Go to 3 here. I guess they could kill us with Literal Giant Growth off of the Stalwarts, but it looks like they do not have Literal Giant Growth in hand. Now we are... That's very funny, Arena. Comedic mastermind shuffler strikes again. Yeah, we have to block like everybody, basically. I guess I'd probably attack with Warlord's Elite, because if that breaks through, we're hitting for 6, 7, 8, 9. Guess it's not quite lethal, so they can let it all through. But yeah, three blockers is pretty safe. I'm gonna attack with both of these. Alright, cool. Chump from our opponent. I've got nothing else to do with the mana, so I probably am supposed to hit for 1 more damage. Rather than holding up to buff our blockers. Alright, recruitment officer. It's getting some mana dumped into it to find some more cards. They find an Argothian Opportunist, so it does draw them a card. Solid mana sink there. They can cast the Opportunist off the Stalwart. They are going to do that, so 3 blockers up. So block, 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 take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. There's the concession. Okay. Really, really close game yet again, and we are now 5-2. Very, very solid run here as we head into game number 8. All right, here we are on the play for game number 8. Got a turn 3 Lauren thanks to this Elsewhere Flask, which is pretty nice. If they play anything that we can blow up with it, otherwise we just go for the Thopter. Okay, well, we can't blow up the Bauble because they can just sacrifice it in response to draw the card. Really cool artwork on that thing. Alright, so probably Thopter into Elite into Tactician for the curve. Because I can play Elite on turn 4, tapping the Elsewhere Flask and a 4th land. Evangel of Synthesis. Spooky threat. Every time they've drawn an extra card, it's going to be a 3/3 menace. And their Bauble let them see our Goring Warplow on top. Oh, I don't have the white source for Tactician without using Elsewhere Flask. Yeah. Actually, yeah, still not drawing a Plains is an issue. That means I only get to cast 1 of the white spells currently. But we have more white sources than every other color in the deck. Got 8, I think, that we can draw into. Perfect timing there. That was getting a little stressful. Yeah, we play the Warlord's Elite before the Tactician so that when I'm attacking with Elite, it's getting the buff. We're attacking for 5 next turn. Mightstone's animation. Well, Lauren's going to be decent here. Kill their 4/4. I guess we're playing Lauren instead of Tactician. And it all works out perfectly fine because now we get to play a Scrapwork Mud alongside the Lauren, and that's pretty mana efficient. And maybe should discard Warplow. It is 1 mana away from being a 5/4 though, so tempting to hold. Trench Stalker, oh boy. Oh hey! 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That might just have won us the game. That's an incredible draw here. Because now I get to send in the whole team and they don't get to lifelink next turn. That's some pretty serious action, yeah. Alright, there's a Vangel. There's a Thopter mechanic. Still dead on board. If they tap out here, they're just dead to Thopter. And they tap out? Ooh, smart play. Sack the creature that gives them a flying blocker so they aren't dead to Reconstructed Thopter. They do block all three. Don't have the mana to cast this and give the board +1/+1. I think we have to pass here. I guess I should probably still trade Thopter into theirs, because then we can unearth it to try to kill them next turn still. And since I won't have the mana to buff with Paratrooper anyway, I should just play Warplow as a 1/1 to have a wide board state. Alright, so we trade, and we can unearth the Thopter next turn. And even if they exile it from our grave somehow, we're going to have the Paratrooper on board in their end step, and we can buff it up to hit them for 2 in the sky. So as far as they know, they have to find a way to exile the Thopter from our grave to have any chance here. Which is already kind of a tall tale for them. Kind of a tall task. Okay, well, at least they probably tap out for that and Ambush Paratrooper gets there, but there you go. They've got 2 mana up to interact with this Paratrooper. Let's see. Come on in, everybody. Crack the Lantern to draw 1. They've got 1 black mana up. That should be lethal against anything in the set. Yep, that's 2 damage. Here's 4. And that is game. We are 6-2 yet again in the Brothers War Quick Drafts, heading into the most stressful final battle you can get. A final boss with only 1 round in the chamber. See how this draft ends for us as we head into that final battle. Here we are for the final battle with a snap keep. Come on, the mana's perfect. We'll definitely get there. No, I will actually mulligan here. I've been keeping a lot of hands. I probably should have mulliganed these last couple drafts, but this time I'm not going to be that bold. The mono black hand with all blue-white spells. Alright, this is much better mana. We'll keep this and ditch the 4th land. If I don't draw lands over time, I can use the Scrapwork Mutt to ditch one of my spells to try to find another land. Playing against green-blue, and there we go. There's the 4th mana. Currently, don't want to do anything with Mutts enter the battlefield, so I'm going to go for Paratrooper first. That gives me 1 more card before I choose what I do with the Mutt. So if I draw a 5th land, like, I'll ditch it to the Mutt. If I draw another Cohort, I don't think I'm doing anything with the Mutt then. I think I'm keeping all these cards. Because Cohort is obviously incredible with Tactician in hand. Alright. Play the Cohort first, then play another Cohort, then play a Tactician. Our opponent plays nothing till turn 4? Turn 5? What is going on right now? I am unsure. Send in the team. Koilos Rock is what's going on. Okay, so they kill my Mutt for free. They're going to choose the Paratrooper, though. Alright. There's another Cohort. Gotta play something massive here. It's gotta be like a Boulder Branch Golem, or Tactician probably seals it for us. We'll see. Trump attack with some creatures, get extra damage in. That is 10 damage on board. That is not a viable block. Okay, so take 8, they say. Go to 2. And I can just unearth the Cohort and still send it in next turn. Cityscape Leveler is a strong card, but not enough. They are going to be very dead here to the Unearth mechanic. I could play Lauren instead just to really get the rub-ins, but let's just play the Scrapwork Cohort. Perfectly fine way to get lethal here. There is the kill, so not too much to say about that last game. Obviously, they're on a blue-green ramp deck. They just had an awkward hand. They cast literally no spells till turn 5. Almost any deck can win a game where your opponent plays nothing till turn 5, so not the craziest final boss, just an unlucky slow hand for our opponent. But I'll still be pretty happy with the results, even if the game was not the most interesting. We actually did get a 7-win run this time around, so for the return to Brothers War drafts, we get 6-3 into a 7-2. Really solid stuff. The deck played out pretty much exactly how I thought it would, where it was really high variance, very luck-based. We have some absolute banger hands, some really strong cards that can be great in conjunction, like multiple wins off of Cohort into Tacticians, Cohort into Hero of the Dunes, Tactician plus Hero of the Dunes together, wins with stuff like that, but also a lot of pretty awkward board states and draws where I'm sitting there dirtling around with Goring Warplow and Killzone Acrobat and Thrax Demon, Scrapwork Mutts without the ability to unearth. So, yeah, I don't love this deck. I think we drafted fine, but not great. I think we certainly could end up with something at least a little bit better in this draft pod. But it all works out super fine. You cannot be unhappy with those results at 7-2 today. So we will grab our 950 gems and 2 extra packs of the Brothers War firmly in the value, and run off into the sunset. That is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching this video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you're interested in catching me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.